Hey Emily, so I decided that I was going to do a video for you in regards to the events coming up for Operation Christmas Child, also known as OCC, instead of sending a long, exhaustive email. One, because there can be a lot of details that sometimes can be misunderstood or need to be clarified, and emails just can get so overwhelming. So what I started roughly around a year ago is, instead of emailing my volunteers, also known as our Chicago ambassadors, instead of emailing them all of the details, what I typically do is I draft up a video that's maybe like 6 to 10 minutes long. It allows them to see me, my face, my personality, engage with them a little bit by being silly and fun, and then they can hear the nature of the event when it comes to on-site activation versus just reading, because sometimes we do things that needs a further explanation. So that's what I'm doing with you now. And then you kind of have a visualization of what it looks like, especially as you are learning and growing in what it looks like to be on site for our events. Now, when we get on site the week of the 11th, I will be walking you through, hand holding you through the process in a good way so that you know how to do everything. I'm very thorough, I'm very detailed, so you will be in good hands when it comes to just walking out the process of learning how to do things. But also at the same time, I will follow up with some links. And some of those links are to just websites that will help you understand a little bit about the organization. And I typically do that, Emily, because when we attend events, I personally don't want to attend an event and not know what it's about. Because when someone comes up to me, I want to be pretty knowledgeable and comfortable about what I'm speaking about. Now, when it's a baseball game, it's simple. Okay, we're here and we're, at the Chicago Dogs and they're playing the, Minnesota Mavericks or whatever. That's pretty easy, but when it has a deeper meaning, whether it's faith-based or nonprofit organization, I like to know what the organization is about so that, again, I'm not just a pretty face at a booth, which is not a bad idea either. But anyways, so I just kind of printed some things so that I don't have to rewrite or redo this video. Just some talking points, and again, I'll be there with you all throughout the process. So in regards to when we set up, tear down, the presentation of what we do and engaging, again, you'll learn all of these details with Nicole during training, but I'll give you a little just quick pointers for when we're on site. So when we get there, we'll set up. We'll be outside at that burger joint, which is a restaurant, and then also at Chick-fil-A. So we'll have a tent, we'll have a heater, and we'll dress warm. Always dress warm, because you can take off things, but you can't put things on once you are there. So setup, I will walk you through everything in terms of the tent and the table. We always have to be mindful of when we're setting up outside, there is the wind factor. So things can get windy, so things will blow over. So sometimes we have to weight things down, or we have to reposition them because they will topple over. That's normal. That comes with the event setup. We do things to prevent that, but sometimes we just can't help that when it comes to things on the table. Now, when it comes to the tent, we have tent weights and things like that. When it comes to the setup, sometimes we have to reposition things. When we initially set something up, we think that, okay, the traffic's coming from this way, the flow is going to be best this way, but maybe like 30 minutes later, we realize that the flow of things are not well. So we might reposition things on the table or have to scoot things around. That's normal. That comes with the territory of working on site for events. So just know that sometimes we'll position it and then have to reposition it. It's not being nitpicky, it's just being mindful of the flow of traffic and how things are happening on site at an event. When it comes to tear down is simple. We'll go ahead and pack things in their respective like boxes or bins, folding the tablecloth, things like that, so that it's not wrinkled for the next time that we use it. This tear down process and repacking process and loading things into the car, there's kind of a method to the madness, especially when you're packing in a car, because you want to make sure you have enough room to see out the vehicle, that things all get back into the vehicle when you're driving back to the office. But also when you're packing the bins, that's important because we don't want it to be a mess. And then when we come back to the office, we're digging through things. We just want everything to be neat and orderly so that we can unpack the bins once we get back to the office the following day and get everything situated in the office. So that's a pretty easy process. When it comes to presentation, Nicole will go over that. The way in which we look at an event, the way in which we look when we're on site for an event, that is actually not a like a personal preference. We actually have team standards. So the tablecloths that we use and the setup, the booth setups, that is important. Oftentimes when you go to secular events, like events that are not faith-based, there's like a lot of vendors and they just got a bunch of things on the table. Oftentimes our setup is very simple. We don't want a lot of distraction on the table. In this particular case, this will be a little bit different because we're gonna be hosting a Christmas in November because we're doing Operation Christmas Child. So we'll have some things that we're gonna be giving away, which I'll show you in just a moment. But yeah, our setup and presentation is really important. Very clean, very just orderly. It's not about clutter. It's not about overdoing it. It's about a nice, clean presentation. And then in regards to the things that we're going to be giving away, we want to always make sure that there's enough on hand. So we're not digging through the bin. We're like restocking the table per se. We don't put everything out on the table, especially in this particular case, because we're going to be giving away a lot of things. And I'll again explain that later, but we just want to make sure that the presentation and the restocking of items on the table is enough. So in regards to when we're on site, rest breaks, bathroom breaks, that's important. When you're thirsty, we don't drink at the booth. We don't keep coffee or water on the table. We keep it either in the vehicle or under the table or behind the booth, so that, again, that presentation of how we are presenting ourselves always looks clean and neat. But if you ever need to go grab some water or need to go take a sit for like 20 minutes, or you need to just kind of go to the bathroom, always let whoever you're serving with, working with, know. So whether that's me or whether that maybe if you're on site with a volunteer, you always want to let people know that you're walking away from the booth or taking a break. I believe ETRs get like a half an hour break during the events. A lunch break, if you want to take a lunch break, we can talk about that, how you feel comfortable, what makes sense for you. If I'm being completely transparent, I didn't like taking lunch breaks in the midst of a concert. It was just really hard to like break and, you know, get back into the groove of things. I'll explain a little bit more of that. Whatever your comfort and needs are, we'll accommodate, of course. And then engaging. When you're at the booth, you're always engaging with people, as you know, through the interview process. Engagement looks different, and contesting looks different. In this particular, these three events, we're not going to have any contesting. I have not planned for any contesting. For example, it's like you can say, hey, enter to win this bike that we have on site. Well, we're not going to have a bike on site, but sometimes there are contesting, but that's part of what we do. But in this particular case, it's just going to be simple engagement. So being friendly and just saying hi when people are walking past, that's normal. Just like that can be the way in which you engage with people. That draws them in. Engagement is what draws them in. Contesting is tied to our goals. And saying hi, or like sometimes people will come up and be like, hey, what are you guys doing? That's going to be where you need to know a little bit about the event, while you're there, and what you're doing at the booth. So we'll talk through that when I get to the booth. If you don't know answer to the question, always just say, hey, let me grab, my promotions manager. She'll be able to better explain. Or in this particular case with Operation Christmas Child, they have a specific question about Operation Christmas Child. You'll say, oh, you know what? Let me grab Emily. Emily actually is the contact for Operation Christmas Child. Hey, let me grab Emily. She can help us with that question. And then oftentimes we're explaining to people who we are. So in this particular case, people may not know who Air One is or K-Love is. So I have Air One set up, but the other events are going to be K-Love. It's going to be replicated, but with K-Love stuff, K-Love giveaways, all of that. But you'll always say some like really quick liners. And those quick liners are, well, we're a contemporary Christian radio station, Air One, and you could find us on the dial at 94.3. We have these things called listen up cards, and listen up cards are, they come in different shapes. These are the smaller ones. I'll probably have the smaller ones on site versus the index card size. But a listen up card basically allows people to know where they can listen. So 94.3, it also gives them some information about our text club. So it says text CHI, C-H-I to 38568. So again, listen up cards is something anytime you're explaining who we are to somebody, or if they ask who we are. My initial thing is to grab a listen up card because it allows people not only to hear you, but it allows you to put something in their hands. So I just say we're a contemporary Christian radio station. You can listen to us on the dial at 94.3, depending on where you're from. So you can always say, are you from this area? They're like, oh yeah, I live up the road like 10 minutes. Then you can say, yeah, you can listen to us at 94.3 FM, or you could actually pull out your cell phone. And that's when I just let people know that if you're traveling across the country, or if you're like, maybe going to another state, or even just traveling throughout Illinois, you could actually text the word signal, SIGNAL, to 38568. You'll get a link, and that link will allow you to see where you can find us on the dial all across the country. So it's a really great tool to have in your back pocket, Emily, because sometimes you may not know all of the frequencies, which is 94.3 off of the top of your head, until you get comfortable with it. And you can just tell people, hey, just text the word signal to 38568, and a list will pop up where to find us on the dial. So people also would like to know that we're a family-friendly radio station. We're commercial-free. I'll get into this when we start training, but sometimes people are like, well, who owns you guys? Like Cumulus Radio, or is it iHeartRadio? Or they want to know, like, who owns us. And we're actually not owned by anyone because we're listener supported. So when people ask that question, who owns you guys? Ultimately, there's a company that owns a radio station, and that's how they, survive. Well, we're supported because our listeners not only are buying into the music, but they believe in the mission of what we're doing, and so they support us through generous giving. So more details on that. This is getting really long, so I apologize. We'll go into details. Again, detail Diane, and I'm like, sometimes I don't know when to cut it short when there's so many details that I want to give you. So Operation Christmas Child, I'll send you some links, like I said, on those things about like where you can find like information about how to pack a box, where to drop them off, who does the boxes support. But we will have tons of boxes, as you see. Those will be on site, and we have, I think, 9 big boxes of these, and each box I think has about 13 boxes. So we've got tons of boxes to be able to give while we're on site. And then over to our table. So our table is going to consist of giveaways. We can't incentivize the giveaways, and what I mean by that is it's not like, hey, you can get a free thing here if you get a box. They're separate. So all this is just an added bonus. Like, we might have some Air One listeners that may come up and be like, oh my gosh, I love Air One. Well, we can actually like give them something, whether they plan on participating in Operation Christmas Child or not. We have giveaways to give. And so because we're a nonprofit, we have a certain budget that we have to be mindful of. So this is something that you need to know, is that we don't have this crazy expansive budget with tons of items all the time. The reason why we always ask people to do something, to get something, is because we do have a budget. We don't have tons of things. So the two things that they have to do in order to get something is either follow us on Instagram. And then you may say, well, what if they don't have Instagram? Well, that's why we have that second option. Then they can join our text club. And I'll explain a little bit about both. So our Instagram, they can either simply open up their Instagram. If we're representing K-Love that day, they go to K-Love Chicago and hit follow. Or they go to Air One Chicago and hit follow. Once they follow us, they can pick one thing off of the table. So one follow equals one item or one giveaway. Now, it may be like that mom and that kid that is there, and they're like, well, my 3-year-old doesn't have an Instagram, or they don't have a cell phone. We just have to use our best judgment. Like, we just don't have a lot of things to give away. So oftentimes we just say, hey, if you and your kid are here, they don't have Instagram, no biggie. You can just follow us on Instagram and join our text club, and then you can take 2 items. So at that point, we covered our bases, and it allows us to stay in contact with them. And I'll explain our text club shortly. Or if they don't want to pull out their, go to their Instagram account, they can actually just scan the QR code, which you will see here. They can scan the QR code, and that QR code would take them directly to Air One or K-Love's Instagram. Now, our text club is going to always be on the listen up cards. It is going to be something that you memorize, but our text club is shy. So you say it shy, like as in I'm being shy, but it's CHI 2-38568. That's the Air One text club. And then when you're representing K-Love, it is text the word shy, CHI, to 21947. Again, I would keep one of the listen up cards in your back pocket, so when you have to reference it, you can just pull it right out and you can either show them or say it at the same time. Now, a little bit about our text club. It allows people to enter in for free things. What kind of free things do we give away? We give away concert tickets. We give away tickets to events, like city events like the Chicago Auto Show or a sporting event. We have big things like AirPods and bikes, and we also have things like t-shirts and masks and sanitizer and playing cards and luggage tags and lip gloss and like all kinds of things. We've got little tchotchke type things that we're constantly giving free giveaways all the time. And we have big ticket items as well. We've given away tickets to the Chicago Bulls. What I oftentimes tell people is when they're like, okay, what is your text club about? I don't want to be spammed. I tell them we don't spam anyone. We only send one text message or less a week. So we don't influx you with text message after text message. That is strategic because we don't want to lose our text members. You don't tell them that, but we don't want to inundate our text members with a bunch of texts. So the most that you'll get is 4 times a month. And then again, it's all about receiving free things. No strings attached. We literally just give you free things. And if you don't win, then we don't like spam you with other stuff. Just so you know, there is a box at the end of the form when they enter in for our text club, and let's say they enter in, 3 months from now, a bike. Well, on that form, there's a box that says, would you like to be notified for future emails? They don't have to check that. If they don't check that box, literally their information, I like to say, goes in a black hole. We don't use that information other than for contesting purposes. So joining our text club or Instagram will get you one of these giveaways. Oh, darn. I wanted to have this light on while I was talking to you. Hello, the beauty light. Anyways, so a couple of things that we'll be giving away for Air One is going to be a little bit different than K-Love. It will be easy. I'll help you out with everything for K-Love, but I just set up Air One for the sake of this tutorial, I guess, for lack of better words. So I'm gonna walk a little bit further away. So again, we'll have our high boy table, and we call this white little thing yoga pants because they're super tight. But we'll have our high boy table with our Operation Christmas Child boxes that will continue to refill throughout the time that we're on site for the event. And then we've just got a bunch of goodies. So we've got Air One t-shirts, and they'll be, you know, obviously while supplies last and while sizes last. So we'll have a whole heck of a lot of t-shirts because we do have a lot of those right now. We have Air One like little holders. So these little Air One holders, you can put like your hand sanitizer in it. You can put like a credit card or your license in it. It's great to like hook onto your keychain. They're just like little holders. They're multi-use, multifunctional. We have those. We have pens, which are the cheapest things to purchase when it comes to promo branded items. But yeah, pens are probably gonna be the last thing to go. We've got some Air One face mask, and these I would like to call fleeced lined mask or winter mask because they do have like a little fleece lining, so that will kind of keep you warm in the winter. We've got Air One hand sanitizer. I'm a YouTuber, guys. Okay, so we've got Air One hand sanitizer. We've got a bunch of other things that I didn't put on the table, but we have like Air One water bottles, which would of course go quickly. Then we've got these kind of cute little bags where it has a listen up card in it. It has a nail file. It's got these wired earbuds. So it's like a little plastic piece with wired earbuds in them. So we have those. And again, we'll have a bunch of other things. You never know what's gonna happen. Sometimes like it's like a crazy rush, especially when like events are like thousands and thousands of people. You almost like always leave empty-handed. But in this particular case, I always like to have more than less because it's not a very large event, but I want to have enough where we can kind of sustain the time that we're on site. So again, this is the setup. We typically stand in front of the booth or inside on the side. In terms of presentation, I prefer that we never stand in front of a table because then it blocks what we're trying to do. It's not very inviting. So I think it's always best to stand on the side of the table so that people feel like it's more welcoming. Now, what I will say, because it's COVID, standing in front of the booth always blocks what you're presenting, always. But what we'll do is we've got these COVID signs that say, please stay 6 feet apart. So we'll kind of have those in front of the booth so that people know not to like bum rush the table. I don't suspect right now in the times that we're in that people are going to bum rush, but it just creates this, just caution before people enter under the tent. But what I will say is that we'll probably have the table a little bit further towards the front of the tent, and then the COVID signs a little bit in front of the table. And then again, standing on the side and just saying, hey, how are you guys? Whatever. I'm rambling at this point now. So you get what I'm saying. We've got lots of things, and we should be there. I don't know how long we should actually be there. I'm still waiting to hear from Emily, the OCC contact, about what the setup and teardown time is. We typically, it depends on how long we stay on site for events, and I'll explain that a little bit more once you get on board. But I hope that was more than enough. Probably was. So feel free to shoot me an email or a text if you have any questions. And yeah, 25 minutes later, I think it's time to wrap this up. I'm so excited for you to start, Emily. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye.